I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to You're crazy!
Who's going to break Smith's world title?
Oh, he's done it! And look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory! The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Of the 2023 Formula SimRacing Pro Championship, which of course is brought to you in partnership with VCO eSports. Just 2 weeks ago, Viktor Ivanov wrapped up the title at Monza, but his NX27 team are still fighting it out for the team's championship, with Royal Blue Racing hoping to wrap it up tonight for the final round at Interlagos in a couple of weeks' time. It's the Slovakian Patrick Sevet who's hoping to lead his team to glory after just coming up short in the Drivers' Championship last time out. My name is rFactor, and joining me alongside is Edward Hunter. Good evening, Ed. I mean, the Drivers' Championship may be over, but we've got so many permutations on who needs what in the Constructors, so we might be in for quite a confusing night, won't we?
Yeah, a little bit, because obviously you'd think, well, most of the teams have got two drivers, but we've got the likes of, say, Iris and Royal Blue, who have got 3, or potentially, I think Royal Blue may even have 4. But certainly the big thing that's been helping Royal Blue are the performances of Patrick Sevet and also Stoyan Barbakov to a slightly lesser extent, who has been wrapping up a couple of 5th and 4th places in the last couple of rounds, and that's really kept Royal Blue ahead of the pack by 33 points. They need 55 to beat the 2-car teams, and I think 72 to beat the 3-car teams like Iris and Netrex as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because Burst, I think, are going to be very, very hungry for revenge after a difficult round last time out where they lost a chance at the drivers. I think Tom Aldermenga and Cam Roger are going to be really fired up here as we ride on board with Leonov, and qualifying has begun.
Yes, it certainly has, and Leonov, of course, a fantastic chance for him and the Netrex team to try and claw their way back into the championship. The Royal Blue do lead by 33 points, but from NX27, who are in 2nd, down to Netrex in 5th, it's only 19 points between the teams, so it's incredibly tight down there, and hopefully we will see quite a lot of tight times. But Leonov is one of the drivers who's hoping to push Netrex further up the order. He's had 4 5th places so far this season, so incredible consistency considering that this is round 8, so more than half the races he's finished 5th in, which is fantastic for him. But let's see if he can go one better tonight, but that won't be better, because that's the wall, and that is a very mangled car.
Yeah, and we saw that so much in... we even saw it happen to Giuseppe Saracino in the race in Academy just a few short minutes ago, where he got caught on the curb and just went straight on there. So there was nothing that Ivan Leonov could really have done once he committed and got caught by the curb there. The curbs here are vicious if you get them wrong. You've got to carry so much speed, and that forces you to go onto the curbs to get the lap time. So here we ride on board with Patrick Sevet, who's been in great form recently, has really been racked up 3 2nd places this season, but would desperately love a win. Royal Blue got their first win in a long, long while in Academy with courtesy of Peter Knapp just a few minutes ago in Academy, and I think Patrick Sevet is looking very, very keen to follow that up. There we go, 127.8 with 2 purple sectors there, so that really sets him out well. He sat out his stall, and it's now up to everyone else to try and match that.
Yeah, absolutely. And George Adrianis puts his car in P2 as well. Of course, he had a bit of a rich vein of form in the middle of the season, winning at Silverstone, coming 3rd at Imola, and also was 5th last time out at Monza, so that isn't a bad showing as well. So he's definitely not one to count out. But of course, Viktor Ivanov in P3, he's lurking. He's just under a couple of tenths behind Patrick Sevet, but the man who's won so many races this season, 4 in all, 3 in a row coming into this race, so he will be hoping to make it 4 from 4, and if he can make it 4 from 4, Interlagos might make it 5 from 5, so records there to be attempted for Viktor Ivanov, but the likes of Tom Aldermenga in there as well, like you said, Ed. I mean, of course, it is that team of Burst Esports who are hungry to make up as many points as they can, and they've got to make up points this evening, but Royal Blue looking strong, as we now ride on board with Simon Frelich, who's not got a time on the board, but he could also put a time near the front, as we all know his pace.
Yeah, and the good news for Royal Blue is that NX27 have showed up with just the one car of Ivanov. It is a mighty car, though, admittedly, as the current pro champion. And let's not forget, of course, that Ivanov won this race last season, of course, by 2-stopping, whereas all the Royal Blues, despite getting on pole position with Mancini, I think, they free-stopped, essentially, and that was what put them behind. They couldn't quite catch the time. Ivanov judged it superbly and was able to stay out of traffic. So the strategies at Networks NX27 are definitely on their toes, and it's going to really take something to beat him, even if Ivanov does not qualify in pole position as well. But currently, Sevet has got about a tenth and a half on George Zalagianis, of course. Zalagianis, who put in that brilliant recovery drive after suffering a grid penalty from Spa at Monza, where he got through to fourth on the road. I think just budged Barbakov off track at the end, so he ended up in the final results giving the place back. But anyway, this is Simon Frelick, of course, who has been a bit quiet the last couple of rounds, had to miss a few races, but he is keeping scoring the points for Royal Blue, and that's really going to help them in that team's table as Frelick goes top 11 then. So nothing too spectacular. The top 10 just beckoning for him, though, and that could be 4 Royal Blues starting in the top 10, Darren.
Yeah, and that'd be fantastic for them. Of course, they have had great consistency. It's why they're at the top of the team's championship. They've had at least 2 drivers in the top 10 by the end of the race in all 7 races so far, and 3 top 10 finishes at Spain as well. So great consistency, 4 podiums for the team, 3 seconds and a third. But that win, just so elusive for them. But they have had a few drivers to go at it. 5 drivers in all have gone for it this season for Royal Blue. But there's a few of them here who are going to try and take that win finally, and with it, the team's championship. That is it's a very good lap there from Thomas Schmidt to go P3. He's just behind George Zalagianis by just 4 thousandths, or 5 thousandths, I should say, of a second, so incredibly tight for those two. But here comes Patrick Sevet. He's already got 1.4 tenths of an advantage to Zalagianis. Can he extend it as he runs to the line? He does. It's now a quarter of a second. It's a fantastic lap for him. And he now leads the rest of the field by a decent margin as we have more come across the line in the case here of Danny van der Neet, who goes P6. But we'll now see Ivanov in this wonderful liveried car. The champion, he can do whatever he likes in that pink machine. But let's see if he can go for the pole here.
Yep, he's an Ivanov girl in an Ivanov world, and it's pink and orange, well and truly. But he, like you say, I think he was doing it. Almost like he put the livery on and it enabled him to do whatever he wanted, and what he wanted was to become pro champion. A reminder, he'd been waiting 9 seasons. He's been competing pro for 9 seasons. At the 9th attempt, he wins the championship. It was the Oldenburger purple middle sector, but first and third sector is not quite good enough to get him off of that 3rd row. So, in fact, he's 6th now because Mancini is ahead of him of 128.0. So, a good lap actually by Mirko Mancini there to split Ivanov and Oldenburger. And those two guys, it takes quite a lot to split them because they're both probably 2 of the most competitive guys up there with Sevet in this championship.
Absolutely, and we've only got a couple of minutes left in this qualifying session for the drivers to get their times on the board. But we are now on board with Alex Lahou. As he now climbs up the hill towards the 2 Degners. First one negotiated fantastically. Second one, very nice line through the exit, but a little bit of a wiggle on the rear end. But coming up to the hairpin, Lahou knows that a good lap time here. Oh, but the rear slide won't necessarily help, but he's managed to style it out somewhat. I don't know how much time he would have lost there, but it didn't look like it cost him too much time through the hairpin. But he comes towards Spoon, of course. Alex Lahou, part of the Team Iris team, along with Wesley Buchel. Oh, that's very wide, and that's the end of his lap. So that's Alex Lahou pretty much done for this session. But, you know, a few others still on laps here, and they may be able to put themselves further up. Giannos Lianos, definitely one that we've got to look out for.
Yeah, certainly was quite strong here. Won the race in Academy last year, actually, when driving for Ground Effect. But the big statement of intent for me, Thomas Smith, 3rd, just 3 tenths off the pace of a 128.027. That's a very, very impressive lap time from our Academy champion of 2023, who's subbing in for Loic Moynier, and he's ahead not just of the 2 Super Ventures, his own team, current team in Academy, with Morville, I think, yet to set a time, but also ahead of his 2 teammates at Iris, as we see Leonas just launch it through the Casio triangle and run to the line now as he hopes to get into the top 10.
Yeah, let's see where the time does put him as he runs to the line. It looks like he stays in P13, so not the ideal line, but run, I should say. But he is just about 3/4 of a second off the fastest time. Time is ticking down, just about half a minute of the session left. So final laps are in order right now, and Patrick Sevitt is the man who we are focusing on as he now comes into the Dudegners. Currently 27.6, but not improving in the first sector. It's not quicker than his fastest time, and the likes of Mirko Mancini is only half a tenth off through that first sector on Patrick Sevitt's lap this time around. But Royal Blue could really do with this going their way and have a man on pole position, whether it be the likes of Mancini or Patrick Sevitt, who is, of course, in the driving seat at the moment. But as they come round Spoon, another bit of rear sliding. We see a few people have finished the session. Mancini stays 5th. Bookout is 12th. But let's see where Patrick Sevitt can go. Just a couple of corners to go to see if he can consolidate pole here at Suzuka.
I'll tell you who's lighting the time screen up in the first sector, Tom Oldenmenger, who's just set a 32.2, which is pretty equal to what Zalagianis, but a bit slower than what Sevitt has been able to do. So Zalagianis, I think, looking really, really good. Those 2 temps in the first sector are really what's helped him in that what I think may end up being pole position here, because Zalagianis, even if they're not looking any quicker, Oldenmenger might be able to get himself onto the second row here.
Yeah, he absolutely might, and he is one of the only drivers up near the sharp end who is on a lap time. Indeed, he is the only man who's improving in the top 10 as we now jump on board with him.
Leonov third.
Yeah, Leonov improving up to P3 right at the end of the session. And is that the same time as the driver in front of him, Zalagianis? Oh no, it's just my eyesight, a little bit between them. But here comes Oldenmenger through the final corner. He's currently in P7 for Burst Esports. Can he improve on that? To the line he does. He goes P4 in the end, and he slots himself in between Leonov and Schmidt, which is an almost impossible task. But he has somehow done it. Here comes Matt Toussaint running to the line. Can he improve on P15 at the end? No, he cannot. And I think that is pretty much that in terms of qualifying.
Or even on P2.
Ivanov, yes, Ivanov just jumping up there in P2 for the last one to finish the lap time. But yeah, that's a fantastic result there for Patrick Sevitt, who's taken pole by just over 2/10 of a second. But behind him, the times are so close together. Ivanov, Zalagianis, Leonov and Tom Oldenmenger round out the top 5. But between Leonov, Oldenmenger, Schmidt, it's only 0.014 of a second. So incredible stuff between that second and third row. Mirko Mancini is in P7 with Stoyan Barbikov in P8. Sergio Fletcher 9th and Alex Lahou rounds out in the top 10, which only sees 0.6 of a gap. Danny van der Neet, well, very close to Alex Lahou in terms of time. He's P11 with Wesley Bookout in P12. Giannis Lianos 13th with Simon Frelich in 14th, with Matt Toussaint, Kevin Morville, Cam Roger and Fabian Ballet rounding out the 18 drivers in this race. But a very tight field, Ed, and I think we've got a very interesting race with strategy ahead of us.
Absolutely. And even off of that late lap is going to keep the pressure on Sevitt. So Sevitt, his second pole of the season, but remember what happened at Spa. They went for the softer compounder tyres consistently throughout that race, and it ended up biting them, essentially. And we saw Ivanov, despite being spun around in that chaotic race, running away with that one. So Patrick Sevitt will be eager to learn from that experience. He did rank up another second place at Monza recently, so he's looking to build on that momentum. And I think Ivanov, Zalagianis, Leonov and Oldenmenger could all be scrapping for second here.
Absolutely, and it is an intriguing race. Of course, we did mention at the top of the broadcast the complexity of the teams championship. Now, of course, as NX27 have 2 drivers, Royal Blue need a 55-point gap to them before we go to Interlagos to take the title, and the same goes for Burst Esports. But when you then look further down, you see Team Iris and Netrex. Now, because they have 3 drivers in the team, the gap to them has got to be 76 points to take the title. So lots of work for Royal Blue to do, and even though they might have the championship done to the team in second by the end of the day, they might not have it done to the team in third or fourth or even fifth. So an intriguing night ahead of us, and I think our maths is very much going to be called upon this evening, Ed, but we'll have to see if it keeps working after 43 laps.
Yeah, I think looking at Royal Blue, there's been 3 races so far: Bahrain, Silverstone and Monza last time out, where they got all 4 drivers to the line and they're scoring points. So I think that really illustrates how important it is not just to have loads of cars in the race, but also to get them to the end, regardless of where they finish. Because if you score any point, it's going to make a big, big difference here. And NX27 with just the one in the form of victor, even though I think Liam Howard is kind of, I don't want to say lost interest, but he's certainly, the races he has done, he's been very, very unlucky. So I think it's understandable that Liam Howard isn't that motivated by winning the team's championship. But hopefully we do see him giving Pro another go in the future. But I think Burst, Iris, Networks GP are probably going to be the main threats here to Royal Blue. And so the gap, 37 points then for Burst and 48 for Team Iris. So they're close to that 55 that they need, but it really depends how things play out.
Absolutely. And I'm excited for this one. 43 laps of Suzuka. It can sometimes be a little bit tricky to make the move to Suzuka, but as we saw in the Academy race, moves are there to be made. So there is the opportunity for these drivers to make the moves that they need to try and collect the points that their team and their own championship requires. Of course, even though the Drivers' Championship is wrapped up for P1, I mean, down the field, there's still some very tight gaps. I mean, Patrick Sevitt, Tom Aldermenger, 1 point in it between them, and George Zalagianis, just 34 points off the back of Sevitt as well. So it's not all said and done just yet. Of course, this race at Suzuka and a race at Interlagos in 2 weeks' time left in this FSR Pro Championship to decide the final positions in both the Drivers' and the Teams' Championship. But on the strategy, Ed, I mean, we're going to see some drivers start on probably the hard tyre and some on the mediums to try and balance out what strategies they're going for. The fact that Royal Blue have 3-4 drivers in this race, does you think that means that they can try and split their strategy more effectively than, say, a two-man team?
They could, but at the same time, they don't really want any of their cars to get caught out here. So everyone else starts on the hards. I don't really see them, let's plonk Sevitt on the mediums and see if he can build the gap, because the likelihood is if he doesn't make a great start, then he's at the mercy of Ivanov, Zalagianis and co. So I think probably they will play it safe for Royal Blue, especially knowing they've got that 33-point lead in the team's table. But yeah, certainly if anything happens to Sevitt, that lead is going to look somewhat in jeopardy, and they'll need to rely on the likes of Mancini, Barbakov, and Frelich to finish lower down.
Absolutely, and it is those drivers that you've just mentioned that have been able to carry Royal Blue to where they are in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, they've not won as a team, but they have picked up the points where they have needed to. Now, I think we are just getting underway for the formation lap. Yes, we are. And let's have a quick look at the grid. We have it rushing through for you now. I mean, the likes of Aldermenger in 5th, Mancini in 7th. They'll be looking to make their way a little bit further up the grid. And Thomas Schmidt, of course, in P6, fresh off of his Academy race. Sergio Fletcher in P9. He's in a bit of a championship battle at the moment with Soyan Barbikov and Loic Meunier. That's only 1 point splitting those three drivers as we look towards the back of the field. Gianos Lianos, Shimon Frelich, Matt Toussaint and Kevin Morville. Super Venturi not having the best of seasons, but could they pick up some final points towards the end. Currently sitting down in P9 with Cam Roger and Fabian Ballet at the back. I'm sure Cam Roger will be hoping to pick up a few more points. He's been in a rich vein of form of late. We'll have to see if he can capitalise on that. But here we go. My prediction was wrong. Everyone seemingly gone for the hard tyre. So that pretty much ruins that idea of a split strategy.
Well, doesn't rule out some people running the hard longer than others. I still think we're going to see a mix maybe of 2 and 3 stops. But everyone remembers last year's race where Ivanov won and did the 2 stops. So I think I wouldn't put it past Victor to try that again. But I think Royal Blue may have been remember it pretty well as well, because that's definitely going to stick in their mind as a win that they lost. And it's been, because they did, of course, win the Pro Championship last year, but they haven't won any races this year. So Patrick Sevitt is definitely going to be eager to seal the team's title in style and secure that 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. And it's really up to the likes of Ivanov and Zalagianis behind to stop him. Also, we mentioned Schmidt very earlier. I think he's got a lot to prove starting in 6th. Ahead of his Irish teammates and all the Super Venturi cars. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Schmidt really putting himself in the shop window today as the reigning Academy champion, which will slightly annoy Zalagianis, last year's Academy champion, who himself has had some really good races this season.
Yeah, and we have seen those guys do very well on their little promotions up from Academy to Pro, and Thomas Schmidt, I'm sure, will be doing his utmost to prove his worth here this evening. Looking back here then from the pink machine of Viktor Ivanov, the champion. You can just see everyone behind lining up on this Suzuka grid for the start of this 43-lap race. And one of the most iconic racetracks in the world, one of the most historic racetracks. And could we provide some history here this evening? Everyone just about getting into position on the grid as we get ready to get going then. Patrick Sevet is on pole, but can he take the win? Of course, Royal Blue are in the hunt for the title. The 5 red lights are on here at Suzuka, and the lights are gone, and we are away for the start of this 43-lap race at Suzuka. It's a good enough start, I think, from Ivanov to have the inside line down into turn 1. He takes the lead, swooping through, and I think that's Leonov as well, trying to come through on Patrick Sevet as they now run through the opening corner. Into the S's we're about to come. Sevet just about defends that P2. Zalagianis hunting around as well with side-by-side action all the way through the field as they start coming into this S section. Of course, so hard to go side-by-side, but some drivers risk early on this V3 tour. So here comes Leonov around Dunlop corner. I think he's not going to be able to try and have a go at Patrick Sevet. I think the next overtaking opportunity is the hairpin, but we'll have to see if anybody makes a move to the inside there.
Yeah, not a great getaway from Zalagianis, then losing out to Leonov. But as you say, Viktor Ivanov, perfect start up the inside and back where he left off from Monza, pretty much ahead of Patrick Sevet, isn't it? Where he won by 4 seconds on that occasion. Ivanov desperate now, or very, very keen at the very least, to make it 4 wins in a row and 5 in total this season, which would certainly be a big boon to him, having already secured the Drivers' Championship. But yeah, here's a replay then of the start.
Yeah, let's see what happened here. We just having a look. Oh, here we go. Outside line here. Down into the terminal, have to see what happens up in front.
This is Sergio Fletcher.
Yeah, Sergio Fletcher going very wide through turn 1, just bouncing over that curb and losing a multitude of positions, running over the grass and dust as well on the exit of the first corner, but he just managed to recover just about to stay in front of the Team Irish driver. Oh no, this was Venturi driver.
It was Morville.
Kevin Morville. Yeah, so and he's just moved past Matt Toussaint as well on this lap, so he's recovered another position as we now start lap 2 of 43. But this is Tom Oldenmenger, currently in P5. You can just see the two in front of him, Zalagianis and Leonov, going at it. We have 5 different teams. Make that 6 teams in the top 6 at the moment. So, I mean, all of the teams giving it a good go at the moment, but just behind then you've got 2 more Royal Blue and another Team Irish driver as we have another look at Stephen Fletcher, the Valley eSports driver, back up in 12, and he's making a good recovery after that turn 1 mishap.
Yeah, great for Sergio Fletcher to keep his head. This is Bukow. Oh, he's been tagged around by one of the Royal Blues. Was that Simon Frelich who hit him? It must have been, because Simon Frelich is now got going and down in 17th, just ahead of Wesley Bukow there. But the two tangling at the S's, I thought Fletcher and Morville did very well to avoid that in their own incident. But sadly, Bukow and Frelich coming to grief, and that's really going to be a blow for Simon Frelich and Royal Blue especially, because now they've really only got 3 cars in the fight up front then. And Patrick Sevet has kept, actually, Viktor Ivanov very honest to Sevet, because he's within 7 tenths a second. Looked like Ivanov was faster on the first lap in the first and final sector, but it is now Sevet who's starting to up the pace a bit in sector 1, and they're pretty even in Sevet again faster in sector 2. So when DRS opens up on that main straight, I expect Sevet to challenge into turn 1, but Zalagianis himself is challenging Leonov for 3rd.
He absolutely is, and we can just see here Zalagianis getting so close to the back of Leonov, down in towards the Casio triangle. Oh! Was that a move to the inside there? As we now run into turn 1, Zalagianis is still behind Leonov, as we see Oldenmenger and Schmidt running in behind. But I'm not too sure what happened down there. Was that my eyes deceiving me, or did we just see a momentary move down the inside?
Yeah, I think we've had a bit of a delay, and apologies to the audience, because I think what we've been seeing has been slightly behind live. But you and me both had the same issue, so it might not be our end. But anyway, Viktor Ivanov was able to hold off Sevet by about 6 tenths, and Ivanov was also able to hold off Zalagianis then. So a little bit of forceful movement around the outside, I think, from Leonov, was able to keep that 3rd place. And Oldenmenger also not quite able to follow through as well, but able to hold off Smith. So it's a bit of a stalemate in the top 10. Roger has made up a lot of places, actually, up to 11th from where he started, and he's right behind Danny Van Der Neat.
Yeah, I was just about to mention Cam Roger, because he was right at the back, P17 at the start of this race, but he's managed to keep his nose out of trouble, getting past the likes of Fletcher, who of course had that moment down into turn 1, the incident with Wesley Buchout and Simon Frelich as well. So he's been able to pick his way through carefully up into P11 now. Of course, needs to get as many points on the board as he can. Of course, Royal Blue in a strong position. We'll probably work out at some point whether Royal Blue are in a championship winning position. We'll do that later on when the positions are more set in stone than they are now. But for now, of course, they aren't set in stone. You can take as many positions as you can, as we see. Ah, yes, that's Wesley. That's him out of the race. That's one of the Team Irish drivers done. And I think we're about to see what happened to him.
Well, he'd already had that incident with Frelich, and there we go, just crawling to a halt and missing his front wing as well. So it's gone very, very wrong for the Irish driver then. Their hopes really rest on Alex Lahou and Thomas Smith then in that 6th and 8th place then in the order. And there we go, another place gain for Lahou as he goes side by side with the Royal Blue of Mirko Mancini into turn 1 and 2. Mancini goes the long way around and actually comes out behind. So I'm a little bit delayed on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, lovely car on Mirko.
Yeah, it's he had that for
livery.
the Italian round because Mancini was his home race and he decided just to keep it. So that's how they get it, Royal Blue. Mancini, of course, makes all the helmets and liveries as well. As we see, is that Cam Roger trying to challenge Van der Neat on the exit of the hairpin as they go through 200R.
I think it is, and we can just about see them in the background now as they run towards Spoon. Here is Cam Roger on board with him now. Of course, Burst Esport trying to stay in this championship battle. Of course, like you said, a very an unfortunate night, I think it's fair to say, at Monza a couple of weeks ago. But they're trying to make up for it, and Cam Roger up 6 already, and we're not even done with the first 4 laps as we see. This is Leonov fighting with, I think that is Zalagianis. I think that's Zalagianis getting through then on Leonov there, and up into P3. There's a bit of a gap in front to Patrick Sevitt, so the slipstream effect is not there for George. But as they come down towards turn 1, I think he just about has enough of a lead, and he does, as they run in towards turn 1. And Zalagianis now is ahead up into P3, and Netrex definitely with some work to do. Leonov is in P4, Lianos down in P16, but down underneath. Holding the middle of the fort, P10, as they try and take as many constructors' points as they can.
Yeah, absolutely crucial move for George Zalagianis there. Could not afford to be stuck behind Leonov. He'd been threatening to do that for a few laps, and I think he was able to break round the outside at the Casio Triangle, which of course gave him the inside for the exit of the second part of the chicane. As we see Cam Roger going deep off into the gravel at Degna 1 and rejoining right in front of Sergio Fletcher. Yeah,
Fletcher, very bit of a co-brown moment there for Fletcher. There was a bit of a gap in front of him, and then there wasn't. Oh, and a rear end slide as well through the hairpin for Cam Roger. It's not looking comfortable in that Burst Esport car at the moment, but we'll have to see if he can hold it out. Well, his teammate Tom Oldeming is going to go for P4. Leonov looks vulnerable at the moment. He looks in danger, and he looks like he's a man that can be overtaken, and Tom Oldeminger is hoping to take full advantage. The gap in front of Leonov to Zalagianis is already a 1.5 seconds. So Tom Oldeminger really is in the driving seat here to try and get past Leonov. With Schmidt, Barbyakov so close in behind as well. A little bit deep into the first part of the chicane, but let's see if he can make it down the straight.
Yeah, there we go. And it looks like Fletcher's got past Cameron Roger, which is bad news for Burst Esports. There we go. And in fact, actually, Roger's got back through at the chicane there. So a little brief contra attempts there as we see round the outside. And Oldeminger is ahead of Leonov now. Somewhere in the S's there, as we see also, that must be Barbakov in a battle with, is that Alex Lahou getting through? Is that Smith? No, it's Smith he's battling with there. So there was a brief run on Smith and Barbakov not quite able to take advantage of it there. But you see at the head of this train, now Oldemaker's got through, and now he can chase after Zalagianis for third.
Absolutely, and we'll have to have a little bit of a replay as we see. This is, I believe, oh, is this Fletcher, I think, going to go on the outside of, that's Cam Roger into the Casio Triangle. Oh, he chops off Cam Roger a little bit into the first part. There's a little bit of contact all the way through the corner. It was just about bumper cars through there, and Cam Roger has somehow come out ahead of Fletcher there. But interesting racing between those two, and they are really going hard at it for P11 at the moment. Lap 6 of 43 only. We've had a lot of racing so far, but we're not too deep into the race. And we're going to have to start thinking, when are the first pit stops going to be? Is an undercut going to be attempted by some of these drivers? Or will they all look to go long? And who will be the first to blink?
I think the first pit stop was Frelick at the end of lap 1 after he hit Bukout. But there we go. This is the fight up front as we see Ivanov just about trying to carry as much speed as he can through the chicane. And he looks like he's really under pressure from Sevet. Sevet has actually, despite fluffing the start a little bit, has actually recovered really well and kept the pressure on our new champion, which is exactly what he needs to do here. Of course, it won't be too big a deal for Royal Blue if NX27 remains a one-car team going into Brazil, because as long as they are 30 points ahead, then NX27 don't really stand a chance of overhauling them in the team's table. Yeah, Sevet, as we said, really pushing for the win here. They've got a 7-second gap, is that, to... oh no, not 7 seconds, 1.9, I should say, to Zalagianis behind. But Oldemenger has also been setting personal best to 1:33.5 last time around, which is the fastest of any of the 4, or any of the top 10, actually. So Oldemenger really flying right now.
Yeah, and I think it's just a bit of a cork in the bottle case for Leonov. Here we go, Mancini defending the inside. And
that's Van den Eat.
Yeah, Van den Eat, he tried to come past, but it was an attacking defensive line there from Mirko Mancini, who has kept the position. No real harm done there for Danny Van den Eat. Didn't lose any more positions, and he will hope to gain the time back up to the Royal Blue driver, as we see just him at the front of this train. Cam Roger and Fletcher as well in this train as well. So Sergio is going to try and find a way through, but he tried it a couple of laps ago, didn't he, at the Casio Triangle, and we saw that didn't work out to his advantage, so maybe he's got to get a little bit more inventive. But there are still lots of opportunities for overtakes here. The field as well, the field spread hasn't really been very big, has it? Top 12, only 10 seconds in it between these guys. As Cam Roger is going to try and look for the move on Danny Van den Eat, but not this time. But Van den Eat very deep into the corner. He's going to be compromised. You'd have thought maybe Cam Roger will be asking for that position, but we'll have to see what happens with that one. Sergio Fletcher is, of course, still lurking. Will be in the back of the mind of Danny Van den Eat as we come towards turn 1. Cam Roger, he's got the advantage of the speed down the straight, but he's not quite able to have enough towards turn 1, and they stay as they are, P10 and 11 on lap 8.
Yeah, I think the move from Fletcher on Roger, I was amazed he actually got it stopped in time, because he came in way too hot into the Casio Triangle and then just about was able to keep it on track despite not being able to hold the position on exit, of course. But yeah, braking for that, it's such a tricky braking zone because you're sort of turning slightly to the right as you come in into Casio Triangle. And we've seen, memorably, of course, Senna and Prost come together there, but also many collisions in the world of sim racing as well at that point. I think I remember Noah Roivers in the World Championship race, they're doing a big 360-degree spin because he came in and got a wheel on the grass. And that was such a scary moment for him. He was surprisingly able to stay out of the wall and finish that race in the points as well. But look at this, Sevet has not given up 4 attempts. He's gained another 10th then on Ivanov. So Ivanov, is he toying here with Patrick Sevet, or do you think Ivanov is genuinely under threat here?
I'm not too sure. I think there's a bit of pace management going on at the moment from quite a few of these drivers, because Leonov really is dropping off, or had been dropping off quite a lot to the likes of Oldemenger, but they are now all starting to gain on Ivanov, aren't they? So I think it's more of a calculated drop back and ebbing and flowing of the pace, just to try and manage the tyres, manage the car. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see as that is. I think Patrick Sevet's got through there on Viktor Ivanov, actually down into turn 1. There he is, yes he has. Sevet's taken the lead, and I think we're going to see a replay of just that down into turn 1.
Yeah, there we go. So great opportunism from the Royal Blue. He's in the DRS. He's been closing for a while. He just about gets enough overlap. Ivanov decides not to fight it too hard and slots in behind, looking to, I think, counter-attack the next lap there. So canny stuff from Ivanov, but great performance actually by Sevet to catch him quickly enough down the straight there.
Absolutely. And yeah, it just shows Patrick Sevet already opening up nearly an entire second of a gap on Viktor Ivanov just through the first half of the lap alone. So we'll have to see if he can just about pull that out as well. Zalagianis is now closer to Ivanov than Ivanov is to Sevet, as we now see Fletcher. He's still in this battle with Cam Roger. These two, I think, will be at it for quite a long time in this race. But we'll have to keep seeing how they do. Cam Roger, of course, still trying to get those positions, but he's still only 11 seconds off the leader in P11, so the field spread really not happening. I mean, if you look at the minimap in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can see all of the drivers, mainly, or most of the drivers in the front train, really close together in a big train, particularly down that back straight as they now come into the Casio Triangle. But I think this one's going to be interesting. An undercut might be big here as Fletcher goes for the move. But yeah, undercuts might be important here with the field so close together.
Bad chicane for Danny van der Neet just ahead of them, and that actually slightly puts Cameron Roger off as he tries to get the power down himself. But now he's got the DRS. Van der Neet does not have it. Is he going to be able to make a dive? The Netrex has really good straight line speed here, as we saw a few laps ago, and Cameron Roger is just dispelled and put at bay there. And this is going to be really annoying for him and Burr stuck behind that Netrex, and Fletcher still all over him like a cheap suit as well. So Cam Roger in a sort of unenviable position very much. Perhaps there might be a few of these drivers running really, really long on the hards, trying to do a two-stop here. Much like we saw Ivanov do last year. I wouldn't be surprised if that was why he just let Patrick Servet through.
Absolutely. And we are going to see a replay here. Down in the back of the field.
Ballet.
Yeah, he's right at the back of the field. That is a car that is looking worse for wear. It's missing some key elements to the Formula 1 car.
You don't say.
I think when they talk about points of downforce loss, I think that is going to be in the hundreds of points at that point. That is an incredible car. That looks more like a Formula Ford than a Formula 1 car. So unfortunate there at the back for Ballet, but you know he's down in P17 now, a lap down, and not really going well for him. I think he is, if you look at the mini-map, just off the back of the train coming through Spoon, I believe. But he is, of course, an entire lap down. Fletcher still in P11 on the back of Cam Roger, but you can just see how close the entire train is with all of these drivers. Bit of a DRS train between them, and this is just quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're looking at these cars and we're not too sure who's going for what, where the strategy is going to go. But here comes Stephen Fletcher. Fletcher, apologise. It is Mr. Fletcher going around the outside at turn 1. Sergio
wheels as well.
The move. Yeah, getting the move done. Sergio around the outside at turn 3. Can't quite get the move done. Oh, a massive snap of oversteer though, as he just about gets a tyre on the grass, and that sees him staying behind. But these two really going feisty.
That's because he had to go a bit wide at the S's to make sure he left Cameron Roger enough room. That was really what put him majorly offline there. But that's a really tough move to pull off around the outside. So credit for Sergio for trying it. Almost made it work, but the problem is he couldn't really go where he wanted to because there was that burst still alongside him. And Cam Roger, full marks to him, he didn't give up either. But they kept it about as clean as they could have, given how tight it gets here.
Yeah, I do apologise to Sergio Fletcher for calling him Stephen. My muscle memory is just on the...
He appreciates it. He's trying to anglicise his Spanish name. So.
Yeah. I saw S. Fletcher and my mind went to Sunderland. That's how bad it was. Anyway, Danny van der Neet is working his magic for Netrex on the back of Mirko Mancini. Of course, Royal Blue doing very well. 1st, 7th, 9th, and, well, 16th for Simon Frelick. But, I mean, points on the board all the same at the moment. But Danny van der Neet is hoping to dispel some of those points. But, meanwhile, Mancini has got a good run on Alex Lahou out of the final corner. But into the pit lane then comes Danny van der Neet. He's the first driver. Now, this may be where we can see an undercut. How big is it? What kind of position gain will he get? Is it worth it? But these are all questions that will be answered soon, hopefully, as he's the first one into the box.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. It's probably going to be our head of Lianos, who's also pitting at the same time. So Netrex going aggressive here with the Netrex GP team, while Ivanov, I think, is doing his own thing. He's kept Zalgianis out of DRS range, so he's actually, despite losing the lead, he's not in too bad a position, potentially, relative to Sevet, I think, in the battle for the win. So I would not rule out Ivanov just yet. But here is Mancini then, in the tricolored Italian flag, the most patriotic, dare I say, of the Royal Blues. There is a British team, of course, but Mancini being a patriotic Italian driver, still putting the pressure on Alex Lahou, who's not quite been able to break away. But now Cam Roger, now that he dispensed with Sergio Fletcher for, I think, the second time in this race, might be able to mount some pressure upon him.
Absolutely, but of course, there is the proximity of the cars between them. I mean, Cam Roger doing good work on this lap because, of course, Danny van der Neet vacated that space between himself and Mirko Mancini, but he has closed that gap down to about 7/10 to Mirko. So he's doing good work on this lap, as we see now Thomas Schmidt coming into the final chicane at the Casio Triangle, and there's a little bit of banging front wing to, gearbox there with Leonov in P5, but as they come down towards turn 1, it's not really going to be close enough for Schmidt to make a move here, and Leonov is going to hold on, but Yeah, I mean, some of these drivers are really trying to make the move, but it does tighten up into that Casio triangle, doesn't it? It just pinches up on the apex, which might be why we're seeing so much contact. But, I mean, everyone's still going in a straight line pretty much. I mean, we've only had that one instant, really, that's seen a big spin, and that was just about here on the track, where Cam Roger is coming through on the back of Mirko Mancini. No one came in on that lap, though, did they, Ed? Danny van der Neet still the only one who's come into the pit lane, and I think he's doing pretty well on those new tyres, looking at the times.
Yeah, someone who's also doing very well is Cam Roger, 1:34.026, fastest final sector of anyone, a personal best first sector as he closes down on Mancini, as you say. So very, very good lap. Dan van der Neet has set 2 personal best final sectors, 40.8, 17.9. So we'll have to see where that stacks up. He's still 9.5 seconds, though, behind Kevin Morville, who's at the rear of the cars yet to pit then. So the Super Venturi is going to be the first to overcome, as we see Smith really starting to push here to close on Leonov, whose lap times have really plummeted. We saw, though, on the previous lap going to Casio Triangle that Leonov just held the middle and there was nowhere for Smith to go other than just giving him a gentle tag at the back. But Leonov, very much the cork in the bottle, holding everyone back in this race.
Absolutely, and the fastest man in the first sector of anybody is Danny van der Neet down in P14. So how many positions can he gain on a bit of an undercut? Will anybody come in this lap? Yes, they will. That's Leonov coming in from P5. Of course, he was the one who was a bit of a cork in the bottle early on in this race, but he isn't going long. He's coming in relatively early. Of course, Danny van der Neet is his teammate, so maybe there's a little bit of data sharing going on between them as we now see him getting the tyres changed in his box. But could Danny van der Neet even come out in front of him? I think that's probably a bit of a tall ask as he comes round the final corner now. But the fact that Leonov was in P5 shows that Danny van der Neet, who actually might get him here, down towards turn 1, he's going to have the outside line. I think he's just a little bit too far back, he is. But look at how much time he's gained on the back of the man who was in a net P5. Danny van der Neet, of course, came in from 10th. But there's a lot of positions that could be gained here for NetRex.
Yeah, 1:33.0 for Van der Neet. That's 1.4 seconds faster than what the two leaders of Sevet and Ivanov are doing. Ivanov, he's now 1.5 seconds behind Sevet, and he's got Zalgianis just within DRS range, 9/10 behind, and Oldermenger 8/10 behind as well. So it's sort of turning into a four-way fight, isn't it? And here comes Cameron Roger at 200R up the inside of Mirko Mancini, and nothing the Italian can do. Cameron Roger up into P8.
And he's all out of shape. Is Mirko Mancini into Spoon, and out of Spoon he comes. He's not necessarily going to be anywhere near close enough to try and make the move here on Cam Rogers. So a good move puts him up into P8. Here we see Patrick Sevet. Is he coming in this lap? No, he's not. He's staying out once again. The leader, of course, was on pole position, had that poor start, lost that to Ivanov, but has since got back through for the lead. As they're all of the top 5 come through, or is that the top 4 plus Ballet, I think, coming through. Oldermenger at the back of this train. Barbikov and Mancini, yeah, they're both in. 2 Royal Blues, as well as Sergio Fletcher into the pit lane as well. But we'll have to see where they all filter out, of course. That is the key. But I think, yeah, staying on the hard tyres there for Barbikov. So he's staying on the hard strategy, just as Van der Neet and Leonov are. And they are both in front. The NetRex driver is doing incredibly well. And they maybe have mastered the strategy for now. They are doing very well. They'll make up positions in track positions in real time. But will they be able to hold it with a different strategy, it seems, to some of the other drivers?
Yeah, 40-degree track temperature, though. So I wonder if Leonov and Van der Neet and Lianos have all forced themselves onto a 3-stop, whereas everyone else might be going for a 2-stop. But we'll have to see how it pans out. Of course, some of the tyre wear might be better than others. Meanwhile, here's Oldermenger. He's slowly started to catch up to Zalagianis, and I think if he can get past him, then Ivanov might start to look a bit more worried than he is at the moment. Not to dispel Zalagianis, who's a very, very quick driver, but Oldermenger's last couple of laps have looked just that little 3 tenths quicker, actually, than him.
Indeed it has, and Oldermenger still here. Much better line there through the Casio triangle than George Zalagianis in front, but Zalagianis coming to the pit lane. So there's that little bit of a possible overtake for P3 gone from our eyes, as Zalagianis has decided, maybe due to the fact he didn't want to get into a fight with Oldermenger, he might just come in now and maybe save a little bit of time and get a little bit of an undercut as well. Slices his way into the pit box, very nicely done as well, but we'll have to see where he comes out. Can Danny van der Neet jump Zalagianis and Leonov as well?
Well, Ivanov has actually jumped Van der Neet here. So that's interesting. This is going to be a little bit tight on exit here as Kevin Morville just ahead of them. And I think he's done it. There we go. So, I know Zalagianis is ahead of Morville, so.
He's actually come out in a very comfortable position there, isn't he? Because he's a few seconds behind another car, and that other car is his teammate, and I don't think there'll be too much fighting going on there if and when he catches.
This could be an inspired call then, Darren, effect, because now Sevet, Ivanov, Oldermenger, they've all got to respond because Zalagianis is going to be flying out there.
Exactly, and maybe a little bit of an opportunity for them to get a couple more positions. Here comes Cam Roger on Alex Lehoux, and that's a slam dunk. See you later. Have a nice afternoon, quite frankly, for the Burst eSport driver. And he moves up yet another position. The poor qualifying performance isn't holding him back too much as he now moves himself up a little bit further. Of course, he hasn't come into the pit lane just yet, but he is now up to P5 after starting P17.
Yeah, there we go. So Roger making the moves as and when he needs to, and that's really getting Burst back into this team's championship as Sevet now comes in from the lead. So he's going to hand it over to Ivanov, who, as I expected, is trying to do one stop less than them, or at least running a bit longer in this stint. And in comes Oldermenger as well. So he's going to be on the same strategy as Patrick Sevet.
I mean, Sevet, of course. It's interesting here that Ivanov is staying out, of course. We have seen him do a couple of different strategies so far in the season. I remember at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve when he went, I believe, a 4-stop when everyone went 3-stop. Yeah, look at that. Through goes Zalagianis on Oldermenger just coming out of the pit lane, I do believe, as they now come through turn 1, and that is a car in the middle. I think that's that Ballet in the middle. I'm not too sure.
I think that's Tucson, his teammate, who is letting through.
Yes,
it's a yellow
yes,
ground
thank
effect.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
But he's come out behind Sevet, which was where he was before he pit then. So Patrick Sevet pitted exactly the right time, because if he'd stayed out another lap, like Ivanov is doing, he would be undercut. So Ivanov is surely going to come out in a net P4 at the end of this. He's going to be undercut by Oldermenger and Zalagianis.
Absolutely, but Oldermenger really needs to get this move done on Matt Toussaint as quickly as he possibly can. Of course, Matt Toussaint, in terms of this moment, is to the leaders a little bit of a back marker. Of course, he's not that far off, but the exit speed from Oldermenger, he's got good traction on those fresh medium tyres. Does he have the run through 200R? Up the inside he'll have, yes, easily done. Into Spoon Corner we go, and Tom Oldermenger very comfortably now moving up into P7. But Ivanov, does he come in this lap? Yes, he does.
Oh.
Ooh, very nearly misses that one. But he does come in just about. And we'll have to see where he comes out at the end of this pit stop.
Yeah, and those hard tyres are done. But interesting choice from Oldermenger to go onto the mediums and trying to get that stint out of the way early. I think he wants to be on hards at the end, whereas everyone else is going to be on mediums. So it'll be interesting to see. He might be able to undercut people at the next pit stop. But here they come then. Sevet is coming through. And are Zalagianis and Oldermenger going to be able to jump as well? Zalagianis is, Oldermenger is not, however.
He's not. So, I think maybe just getting caught up behind Matt Toussaint may have just cost Tom Oldermenger that 3, 4, 5 tenths that he is now behind Viktor Ivanov. But they have, interestingly, both gone to the mediums. They're the only drivers who have gone on to that medium tyre. So they are going a bit of a different way. But we see them pit a little bit earlier than the rest again then. On the second set of stops. Makes you wonder if they're maybe going for a 3-stop here. Of course, they went, well, Ivanov went 17 laps, which would make you think he's going for a 2-stop. Going very wide, though, not being very kind to those medium tyres on his out lap, but we'll have to wait and see. I think 2-stop probably is what they're going for. But, I mean, the likes of Thomas Schmidt and Cam Roger, they may be even going for a 1-stop. They are extending this a long, long way. It would require them, I'd say, to extend it another, probably, 6, 7 laps, which may be a bit of a tough ask, but they are staying out and they are holding strong at the moment in P1 and 2.
Yeah, interesting. Zalagianis set a 1:32.3 last lap. He's almost within DRS range of Patrick Sevet, so Zalagianis pumping in the times exactly when he needed them to jump Viktor Ivanov in the order, and he may even challenge for the net lead before too long, but it depends what Iris and Burst do with Smith, Roger and Lehoux respectively, because Thomas Smith now in the net lead, just as he was in the Academy race not too long ago, but he was also running long there, and that ended up biting him in the end, with him crashing out and spinning, and eventually finishing 13th then. So he needs to make sure that doesn't happen with Roger all over the back of him. He's got a very, very experienced hand with a man making his debut leading the race. It's quite a lofty position to be in, and all of Team Iris's hopes rest on him and Lehoux in that team's championship. So they're going to have to make sure if they do a clever strategy where they run longer than anyone else and do less stops, then they've got to make sure they don't fall off the road, because there's a big threat of that happening.
Absolutely, and it's important for them. I mean, Schmidt, a lot of weight on his shoulders when he's only just got into the room. So lots of work for him to do, but he's doing a very accomplished job so far. Here we see a replay. I think this is Sergio Fletcher going past, going into the pit lane. So
that's Morville pitting.
Yeah, Morville pitting. So not millions of dramas there, as you see Morville in the pit lane just about as they come in towards turn 1, but still yet to reach half distance in this race and still yet to have any idea.
Ballet's lost his front wing again, right ahead of these two. So Schmidt is going to have to make sure. Oh, there we go. Ballet sensibly moves out of the way. Interesting, though, Zalgiris is now 7/10 behind Sevet. There's a real battle for what could end up being the lead of this race. Are they going to pit, though? No. Oh, dear. Oh, I don't know how Cameron Roger saved that one, but Thomas Schmidt into the pit, and Roger, by virtue of not hitting the wall, leads the race.
I don't know if Cameron Roger actually intended to go into the pit lane there, or if he was trying to stay out, because it looked for a second like he was trying to go in, but we'll probably see it again here. Cam Roger, I mean, he's taken the lead of the race, but at what cost? This is how Ballet lost his front wing. Let's see, coming out of Spoon Corner. Yep, that's how. He's actually styled that out very nicely, though, hasn't he? Pointing back in a straight line pretty much instantly. But not a good race so far for him. He's currently a lap down off the back of the field and just overall having a very poor afternoon. But Cam Roger does lead. Here's Patrick Sevet on the back of Alex Lahou, who has also not yet picked, so he might be able to bunch the pack up a little bit. George Alagianis is right behind Patrick Sevet as they come through the hairpin, so there is that little bit of a risk here for Sevet that he might be caught napping by George Alagianis here, but I think Lahou's not going to fight this one too hard.
Yeah, well, you say that, and he's still there on the outside, but crucially, Sevet gets through before Zalagianis does, so Zalagianis is going to have to wait another corner or two before he's able to overcome the Iris, and all that time, the Rob Blues escaping up the road, and Zalagianis refuses to let that happen. Of course, Victor Ivanov was catching by a couple of attempts behind, and he was about 2 seconds behind him, so absolutely crucial move for Zalagianis now. He's absolutely in contention for this win with Patrick Sevet, so long as Ivanov and Oldenmega don't catch them.
Absolutely. But into the pit lane now does come Cam Roger, like 20.
A bit more decisive this time.
Yeah, definitely, and less worrying where his line's down into turn 1. But here comes Alagianis. He has got the DRS. He's going to go for the outside line down into turn 1. The inside was covered by Patrick Sevet as they come through this opening corner side by side. Who can get the better exit? As they come towards the S's, it is Patrick Sevet, and he just about holds the lead, but it is by no means comfortable for him at the moment, as I think Alex Lahou is just about to be overtaken by Ivanov and Tom Oldenmenger. But we'll have to see how he copes with those two fast chargers up behind him now as well. But some exciting action. The net top 4 is up by less than 3 seconds at the moment, and we're just about halfway through. It's anyone's game here.
Yeah, that's the problem with going around the outside, as Zalagianis discovered there, is that you're basically at the mercy of the guy on the inside, in this case Sevet, and Sevet just ran him wide, and he was so lucky he didn't run and ride onto the curb, because he could have gone straight on and he'd potentially gotten stuck with these three guys again. But here comes Victor Ivanov around the outside on the fresh mediums, and Alex Lahou once again, he's just out there trying to run as long as he can, but he's losing positions all the time, and this potentially is him trying to do one less stop than everyone else to try and save his race. The tyre wear on that Iris looks absolutely horrible. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I'm glad I'm sitting here and not sitting in that car, to be honest, because it just does not look comfortable. And there is some sparks coming off the back of Ivanov's car there through 130R. But let's have a little bit of a look at Cam Roger. Mirko Mancini is his target, and he's come out on some fresh mediums and not far off of the pack after going long. So he's in a very good position. He's going to have to back off before they come into 130R, such is the speed that he carried into the corner. But he'll have the inside line for the Casio Triangle. Thinks better of it. Maybe a little bit of a love tap on the rear end of that Royal Blue, but no harm done there. But will he get it done down into turn 1? He'll have the DRS. I think Mirko is too far behind Sergio to get the DRS. Yes, he is. Here comes Cameron Roger without the DRS even enabled. There it is. It's going to help him extend that lead, and he gets down into turn 1 into P11. And I mean, I can see him getting quite a few of these drivers now, because he's gone the longest on those tyres. He can really push these tyres harder than anybody else, really. And that's
he is
true.
in a good position, P11.
That's true, but if you look at Thomas Smith, he pit a lap before Cameron Roger. He's about 3 seconds and almost 2 or 3 positions up the road from him. So yeah, that shows you how powerful the undercut can be. I think Cam may have given himself, by making that mistake and then going another lap, he may have given himself more work to do than he would have otherwise. But nonetheless, if you do exactly what Thomas Smith does, you're guaranteed to come out behind him. So good to see Cameron Roger at least pushing the boundaries of what these tyres are capable of. Meanwhile, up front, Patrick Sevitt extends the gap to 1.2 seconds over Zalagianis. Zalagianis' charge on those hard tyres has halted temporarily at least, and now potentially Ivanov and Oldermenge could be a threat to him as long as the mediums stay alive. Last lap for them, 1:33.3 by Ivanov, which was a 1:33.9, sorry, which was almost exactly the same as the lap Zalagianis did.
Yeah, and I think casting your mind back to Silverstone, if you remember, there was 2 times that George Zalagianis undercut Cam Roger for the lead, but Cam Roger was only able to get back past the first time, which meant that Zalagianis came out with the win because the undercut the second time stuck and he was able to pull it through. But, you know, Cam Roger, so he is prone to going long compared to some other drivers, but it's so far for him. Heading through on Sergio Fletcher this time up into P10. We've got a replay. Could very well be of that move, but let's see. It is indeed Cam Roger getting through yet another car, and Sergio Fletcher and Cam Roger have had battled a lot, quite frankly, at the first half of this race, but this time around, Cam Roger straight through, no fighting required, and that's a very comfortable move for P10.
Not only that, Cam Roger, fastest lap of the race, 1:32.2. So he's absolutely flying out there, as you say. And it's interesting, him and Fletcher, because they also at Monza came together at the first chicane as well in a battle for what ended up with them 3rd and 4th, I think, on the road. Oh no, Cam Roger did lose out to 6th in the end. His older Menga, he's also kept Ivanov very, very honest. So if Ivanov trips up trying to get past Zalagianis, potentially Tom Oldermenga could take advantage, which would be great news for him after Ivanov has very and truly had the better of him in the last couple of races. Definitely, Oldermenga's had some bad luck as well, getting into a few incidents here and there. But he has been qualifying a lot better recently, and it's great to see him taking advantage of that and putting pressure on the new world champion. But Zalagianis, I think his chances of win, the best chance again is to try and undercut Sevitt at the second round of pit stops, isn't it, when they go to the mediums?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably going to be slightly difficult to get the move elsewhere on this track, but then again, you've got the pressure of Ivanov and Tom Oldermenga here that may start to increase, and the fact that they are on the mediums, does it mean that they're going to pit earlier than the others? Are they going to go onto another set of mediums or onto another set of hards? These questions are yet to be answered, but I think the answers will be interesting and will make an interesting end to the race. Because if they pit earlier and somehow jump both Sevitt and Zalagianis, but are then on the hards and Sevitt and Zalagianis are on the mediums, we might see a 4-way battle for the win towards the end of the race. Which I would definitely not be against at all. But we've got a bit of a train here, don't we? Behind Alex Lahou.
Yeah, Lahou's yet to pit, and the Netrexes were catching him hand over fist, so that's inevitable. Leonov dives up the inside, through at the hairpin, and surely Van Den Eet, who's been working incredibly well with Leonov after they jumped the Royal Blues and several other drivers as well by pitting so early. They're making the best of this strategy, but the problem is they may have to do one more pit stop than everyone else, or really run long at the end. And Lahou, he's showing exactly the folly of that you just, at this point at the end of your stint, you've got no tide. Lahou's surely heading for the pit lane now.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he's going to have to come in soon, because otherwise he's just going to drop further like a sinking stone, and he will start to hold up his teammate Thomas Schmidt, who is approaching at speed. But just going through this final chicane at the pace he's going at might help Schmidt gain that little bit on Stoyan Barbukov in front, but he stays out actually another lap, and I think he might be under quite a lot of pressure here down towards turn 1. There goes Barbukov. I don't think Lahou will fight Schmidt too hard. I think he'll just let him pass. There he goes. Straight down into turn 1, and Schmidt now up into P8. Yes, P8, and he is going to be trying to get through this little train of Barbukov, Neat, and Leonov.
Yeah, and crucially for Schmidt, now Lahou can hold up Cameron Roger a little bit. So Lahou's consigned himself to the one-stop strategy because he just doesn't think he has enough pace otherwise, which is a bit of a shame to see after he led quite a while at Monza as well, the way that race worked out. But sadly, a mistake from him sort of undid Iris's race. And at one point, all 3 cars were in the top 7 at Monza, and in the end, all 3 of them were outside the top 10, I think. Although, and a big hit of the curb there, and just about saved that. So great car control from Alex Lahou, but Cameron Roger will sweep through like a ferret up a drain pipe and think, thank you very much. Now to chase down Thomas Smith.
Absolutely, and I mean, just a little bit of free position for Cam Roger in terms of the fact he doesn't have to fight for it, doesn't have to lose too much time getting past, and he can now march on. I mean, he's 3 seconds off of P5 here. I mean, you mentioned how Thomas Schmidt pit that 1 lap earlier, and he was 3 seconds in front, but that gap has pretty much evaporated into thin air, and they are now together. You can see all 5 of them now coming into 1:30.01, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, Lahou is number 6, but of course he's yet to pit. He's not really in this fight, but he's definitely going for the 1 stop. Not too sure if it'll work out in the end, though, on these guys who were very much going for the 2 stop. But we'll see as they come down into turn 1 if anyone can make a move. The difficulty here is, though, isn't it, that Leonov and Van der Neat, being in the same team, aren't really going to want to fight each other down into turn 1 every lap.
Certainly not, but up front we've also missed Oldenmenger getting past Victor Ivanov. So Ivanov, either he's decided sort of to work together with Oldenmenger for his own benefit and just stay in his wake, or he is genuinely struggling at this point. So it'd be interesting to see. Stay just about within a second of Oldenmenger at the moment. But it's rare we see our champion on the back foot given the performances he's put in this season. But at the moment, you've got to say it's looking good for Sever.
Absolutely. And of course, he hasn't won this season, has he? He's got a best result of 2nd place in the championship, and that 2nd place has come 3 times at Barcelona, at Imola, and at Monza as well. So just to go 1 better to win the championship would be better, but yet to be seen whether this result could win Royal Blue the title, but I think it's going to be very close to doing so. Roger, though, Cam Roger, still on the charge, isn't he? On the back of Thomas Schmidt here, you can just see how much grip he's got. I mean, the gap front to back is still about, well, it's about 2.5 seconds now from these guys, and Fletcher is going to be gaining on Lahou as well. But, I mean, with the pit stops coming up, you'd have thought, for most of these drivers, I think the question is, who's going to undercut who? Because it could be powerful as we go into the final stint.
It could be, yeah, and you're seeing the Netrex's Leonov and Van der Neat sort of feeling the pain of it now, having pit so early for the hards, because Barbakov on for Antoni Lahou finally coming for his first pit stop just before Fletcher catches him. But Barbakov, Smith and Roger all on fresh tyres behind those Netrexes. They've just got to hope that the mediums burn up and that Barbakov doesn't get through here, or that Smith can get past Barbakov and hold him up.
Absolutely, and that might be what they're hoping for, but it might not necessarily be the case for them, but they are just driving on their mirrors at the moment at the head of this train. 16 laps to go then here. I think we're definitely into medium territory for these guys to pit now, so the medium might be the case. Of course, we've seen some drivers start on the hards and go to another set of hards, but some have gone on to the mediums. But I do think, don't you think, Ed, that maybe I think we're going to look into medium territory? That's deep there from Roger. He's looking for the move on Schmidt, but that doesn't really set up his exit very well as they now run through 200R towards Spoon.
That little gap at the inside was not medium tyre territory, but as Cam Roger discovered there. But yeah, this is, of course, Lahou's gone to the mediums because he's sort of doing the 1 stop. He sort of has to, so he's going to have to really manage these mediums across these final 16 laps or so. But yeah, Patrick Sever up front, he's extended the gap to Zalgiris. That tells me he's pushing quite a lot of them. As Oldenmenger is now right behind George. You know, in fact, Oldenmenger's been cheered on in chat by Jene Simoncic, triple champion for Burst, of course, as well. And is this Mirko Mancini hitting trouble?
Very well could be. Let's see.
Oh,
yes,
he's coming to a
running
hole.
off. Yeah, running off at the hairpin, and I think that's him done in the 55 car Royal Blue. Yep, another car down then. Not ideal for their championship hopes this evening, but currently with Sever in the lead, it is putting one hand very firmly on that title. He's extended that gap as well, hasn't he? Up to 3 seconds. There's some dust now being kicked up by, I think that could have been Roger there, but may have also been Schmidt, but Barbikov having been overtaken then by Schmidt and Roger, both of them getting through. It means that he's got some work to do, but Schmidt and Roger now are going to start working on the 2 Netrex cars of Leonov and Van der Neat.
Yeah, I think it really depends on Burst here. I think they might be the only ones, and maybe Netrex PP as well. They might be the only ones to keep the points battle going, and Roger still stuck behind Thomas Smith at this phase, though. So we'll have to see how things play out. But certainly Oldenburger getting ahead of Ivanov is absolutely crucial for their team's championship campaign. And he just needs to make sure he can clear Zalagianis as well to limit the damage that Patrick Sevet can do here. Because, of course, it's 37 points is the gap. Get it below 33 do best.
Yeah, because they have to extend that gap, of course. Particularly to Team Iris, because they are 48 points behind Royal Blue. But if they are within 77, or within 76, I should say, then they will be close enough. As we see, yeah, this is some fighting here. Schmidt really going for it now on Van der Neet. He's being a little bit left vulnerable here as Roger's coming into the pit lane. That's interesting. Is this a big tactical move from Cam Roger? It must be. And I think he might come onto another set of medium tyres here. We'll see Schmidt come down the inside of Van der Neet. That gap is going to close very quickly as they come through the first corner. But can Cam Roger jump all three of them here with a good outlap?
There's Oldenburger, he's pit from third, so that means the three leaders are going to have to respond then, because Oldenburger's going to be flying on those hard tail. Ivanov certainly will, as side-by-side go Barbakov and Roger on exit. They bang a little bit of wheels. Barbakov wheel on the grass, but Cameron Roger is ahead of him there. And, of course, he did pit ahead of him. Barbakov, of course, had just been struggling at the end of that stint of losing positions. And this is a rerun at the end of Monza, where these two, again, came together, and Barbakov inevitably did get finishing fourth as a result of that collision. So Cameron Roger getting his revenge there.
Absolutely, but he is on that hard tyre, isn't he? And Barbakov is on the medium, so that might be a little bit of something for Roger to think about. Interesting that he's got onto the hards, but maybe he's thinking that he can absolutely wring the life out of them as they go through the last 14, 15 laps of this race. But Schmidt not quite able to get past Van der Neet or Leonov here, but we'll have to look at the sector times, because they will be telling as to whether Roger and Barbakov can undercut. But they've also got to remember there, Alex Lahou is just in front of them as well. So let's see. Two groups of three at the moment. Oh, it's getting very close to the Casio triangle, but they're still as they were. Leonov, Van der Neet, Schmidt. Do any of them come into the pit lane? Van der Neet does. And he's going to try and cover off that undercut if he can.
Van der Neet was doing his absolute level best to keep Thomas Schmidt at bay, and it's Ivanov coming in as well, and he sort of had to, so this is going to be really key where he comes out relative to Oldenburger, and I think Oldenburger is going to get back ahead. There he goes. So it's Oldenburger on the hards, and I think Ivanov should be on the hards as well. No, he's taking another set of mediums. Interesting. That's a brave call from Victor Ivanov.
Yeah, very brave call indeed. But let's see. There is Danny Van der Neet. Here comes Cam Roger. He is through. He's through on Alex Lahou as well. So he is up into P8 now, legitimately in this race. They can get through on Matt Touton as well. But the fact that he's in front of Danny Van der Neet means that it's almost certain he'll be ahead of Leonov and Schmidt as well. So Cam Roger, after starting P17, an incredible recovery drive, might give him even a top 5 finish if and when he can get through on Matt Touton.
Yeah, and Patrick Sevet has also pit on this lap too and come out just a second ahead of Tom Oldenburger. So again, perfect response there from Royal Blue. Zalagianis now, wherever he pits, he's going to come out on the freshest tyres, freshest mediums he can, I think, and just try and push behind them, because at the moment he's got all of them in his pit window.
Absolutely, and this really has set up an interesting final third of the race to try and see who can take the win here in the penultimate round of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. Of course, we do have a champion. Victor Ivanov is your man, but we don't have a team's champion just yet, so lots to be said. We've got a replay just coming up now. Let's see what we are going to be having a little of a peek at, and I think this is going to be Danny Van der Neet here, going to get through, trying it through. Oh, 200R. He got onto the grass and he half spun. It's a very impressive hold, to be fair. He didn't go fully around there. Actually, very well done there from Danny, but he won't be too pleased to have lost those 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds off the back of the train. But here comes Matt Touton into the pit lane. That releases Cam Roger now, as he now leads the train of Leonov, Lahou, Barbakov, and Schmidt, and Danny Van der Neet, and Fletcher as well. So, big long train at the back end of the top 10. But Cam Roger, he's played the strategy perfectly so far. Will it work out in the hards, though?
Well, as long as he can stay ahead of Lahou, and Lahou did not look particularly quick, so as long as he's got that buffer behind him, Leonov should not be a threat. But look at this, Smith stuck behind all these guys like Barbakov and such. So the other thing that's going on, Zalagianis has pit and come out in 4th, so he's 2 seconds down on Ivanov with a lap fresher tyres. The thing about Oldenburger on the hards is he can push them a lot further to try and keep the pressure on Sevet then. So if Sevet starts to struggle later in the race, expect Oldenmenga to pounce.
Absolutely, and it'll be important for Oldenmenga to get these points as well, of course. This would be a fantastic recovery for Burst Esports if they were to get this result, even if they get this not the 1-5 that is possible. I mean, that would shoot them ahead of NX27. I do believe, yes, definitely. And up into P2 in the standings, and I think they might just about stay within the window for the championship to go to the final race. So, a very good evening so far for Burst. We're inside line just behind here. Oh, my word, I think that is Van der Niet on Schmidt there. And I think he's got through in the end on Schmidt, but it was a very late send, and I'm not too sure how Schmidt will react to that, but they are side by side. I think 2 sets of side by side as Lahu loses out to Leonov and Barbikov as well. They've dropped off the back of Cam Rogers that little bit, allowing the British driver to gain that bit of an extra meter, extra second on the cars behind. But Lahu, the one stop hasn't worked out for him. And I think we're just going to see a replay of the mess that was turn 1 this lap.
Yeah, meanwhile, this has been going on 1:31.7 by Victor Ivanov. He's flying out there. So this is in lane of going around the outside of Alex Lahu and dragging Barbikov with him there. So Barbikov judged that very, very well, didn't he? Because he so easily could have made contact if he hadn't been paying attention there.
Absolutely so. But we've got 11.5 laps to go. At the end of this one, there will be 11 for Patrick Sevet. But the gap to Tom Oldenmenga is starting to come down just that little bit. Yeah, it was 2 tenths on that last lap. About a 10th taken out on this lap as well. So it's not comfortable for Patrick Sevet. And, I mean, there's still a lot of time for Tom Oldenmenga to get this win. I mean, he's only a second back on Patrick Sevet. I mean, Oldenmenga himself has a best finish this season of 2nd, and he's also got 2 thirds and also 2 fourths as well. So he's been there or thereabouts all season long, but not quite able to get to that top step of the podium, of course. Patrick Sevet and Tom Oldenmenga fighting over P2 in the championship as well, so this could be critical for them. We had 1 race to go after this one.
Yeah, I was just trying to do the maths at the moment. I think at the moment Royal Blue would score 44 and Burst would score 41, although there's the extra points for 15th for Frelick, so that would be extra 6 points. So I think it'd be 50 versus 41, so Royal Blue would gain 9 points and they're 37 ahead. So actually I don't think Burst are quite doing enough. Oldenmenga has to win to turn the tables here. And he's also got Victor Ivanov continuing to bear down on him, so Oldenmenga in a real tough spot here, but he's responding beautifully so far. Another 2 attempts taken out of Patrick Sevet that lap as Danny Van der Niet squirrels his way through Dana 1 and 2.
Of course, Burst Esports only need to be 55 behind, of course.
Oh, they do,
points,
yes.
I do believe so. Yes, well, I think they should be okay, because I think the gap would be 46. So, I mean, it would be all but over. It would only require...
I think they would be the only ones in the window, though, because NX27 with 3rd wouldn't be enough. But even if we can't rule them out winning this one yet, can we?
Absolutely not. Iris also not scoring massively with 9th and 10th at the moment. But, I mean, there is that train, isn't there? I mean, from 5th down to 11th. It's so close, there's 5 seconds in it. Both positions can very much change for the end of this race. Cam Rogers has driven superbly to go from P17 to P5, pretty much on the strategy, making the moves in the window on the right tyre at the right time. But we just saw there, DRS on the back for Zalagianis there, who's on the back of Victor Ivanov, and Zalagianis as well will want to stay in the fight for P2 in the championship. It's looking a little bit difficult for him. He's got to be within 30 points, of course, of Sevet and Oldenmenga to try and take 2nd in the championship, and it's not looking like it's going that way, but getting past Ivanov is the best thing he could do. As that's Fletcher, that's all on his own, and that is the wall, that's the rear wing gone as well. And for Sergio Fletcher, that is such a disappointment into turn 1. But he's just done it all on his own, hasn't he?
Yeah, real bump back to earth after 3rd place last time out at Monza, so he just drifts out too wide. Tries to turn and brake on the curb, and the curb bites him well and truly in the rear wing. Very much parting company there after contact with the wall. So the sole and Sergio Fletcher has had, as the sole valet in for a lot of this championship in Pro, he's really had to do a lot of the work on his own. And clearly this race just didn't quite go to plan for him, but I'm sure he'll be back next time out. Put in another stronger performance. But Zalagianis, as you say, closing on Ivanov, who's closing on Oldenmenga. And all these three squabbling of each other really starts to help out Patrick Sevitt a little bit here, because I don't think Oldermenger's catching him quickly enough compared to how much Ivanov and Zalagianis are catching him. Zalagianis on the freshest tyres of all, and Oldermenger on the hard. So it really is Oldermenger who's made the contra call here by pitting for the mediums and then going hard again rather than going mediums like everyone else did.
But maybe the thinking is that as we see a big bit of contact here, this is Barbikov and Van der Neat. Van der Neat again getting into contact in that Casio triangle, final chicane. That's
both of them.
Yeah, that's 2 or 3 laps in 4, I think, that he has had contact down there. Let's see what happened. I think it's another late send here for Van der Neat. It is going to be, it's a very late send. That is, oh my word, yeah, he's gone so late, he spun it himself. And that is what's caused the contact between them. But the Team Irish driver there, I'm not too sure who that was getting through. I'm pretty sure it was Thomas Schmidt getting through. Yes, it was. He said, thank you very much, gentlemen. And he's put himself up into P7, but that has lost those guys quite a bit of time and allowed Roger and Leonov to get away a bit here. As now we see Matt Toussaint and Kevin Morwell. These two are kind of on their own a bit for P11 and P12. Not had the best of seasons between them. They would have hoped for more. But they are fighting for P10 and P11. Matt Toussaint's best finish this season is P10. Meanwhile, I think Kevin Morville's best finish is a little bit higher up. But we do see... oh, it's actually P10 as well. Beg my pardon. It's P10 for both of them. So they're fighting over P11, so nearly a season's best for them. But we do see Ivanov. He is so close to the back of Oldermenger, and those hard tyres don't look too comfortable.
Yeah, the problem is it's so hard to follow out that final corner there. You saw Ivanov just about holding on to it, and he's going up the inside into turn 1 and through into P2. So Ivanov, it could be 4 in a row. Now he's got Patrick Sevitt in his sights.
Absolutely, and Ivanov, I mean, he is a serial winner this season, isn't he? He's won 4 of the 7 races, and the last 3, of course. But is this the one that would be, he would say, the finest? He has barely led this race. I think about 5 or 6 laps at the start he did lead after leading down into turn 1, but that has been the limit so far. Can he win it with the final few laps? We'll have to wait and find out, but he is gaining just that little bit on Patrick Sevitt here. 1.3 is the gap. The top 4 so close together. This has been such a good race around Suzuka. Long trains, lots of overtaking, big strategy battles as well, and we are in for a treat of a lot 7 laps.
Yeah, and look at Zalagianis. He knows he's now stuck behind Tom Oldermenger, and he's going to watch Ivanov and Sevitt disappear into the distance if he isn't careful. This is a consequence of, because he undercut them in the first stint to sort of get alongside Patrick Sevitt, but then he stayed out longer in the second stint, and that was allowed them to undercut him back. So he does have fresher tyres at this point, but he can't really make use of them behind Tom Oldermenger. He needs to find some sort of way through, and that is the tricky part, as we just saw Ivanov really spent a long time setting up that move. Oldermenger himself, he hasn't given up. He's hoping the mediums drop off like a stone in these final few laps. That's really his only chance for victory now.
Absolutely, and it's possible. We never know. I mean, if they started going off in about 3 laps' time, he is close enough to maybe maybe start a bit of a march, I should say, towards that P1. But I mean, they are so close together. It's pretty difficult to call at the moment. But Barbikov as well, Van der Neat, Alex Lahou in this little train. They're still going at it for P8, 9, and 10. Thomas Schmidt now in a little bit of no man's land after getting through on Van der Neat and Barbikov, because he's about 3 seconds behind Leonov, but 3 seconds ahead of Van der Neat. So he's not really going anywhere at the moment, but P7, still definitely a very good showing on his pro debut.
Yeah, and Leonov is actually setting personal best laps. He's 8 tenths behind Cameron Roger now. So Roger may not be as secure in that 5th place as we thought, with all the chaos going on behind him. Network's definitely doing quite well with Leonov to sort of recover in this race after losing ground from where they qualified. But yeah, Ivanov 1.7 seconds behind. He was 2 tenths quicker than Sevitt on the last lap. Patrick Sevitt might just be able to hold off here, and it would be quite an achievement to keep Viktor Ivanov at bay, given his pace. But the other thing he's got is that he's got Oldermenger still behind him and still keeping those hards very much in play, and Zalagianis has not been able to make any inroads on them.
Absolutely, and we do see that Oldermenger, the hard tyre maybe not working, but himself and Roger are the only 2 who went for the hard tyre, and I don't think that can really be a bit of a coincidence. I'm sure that there must have been some team talk between them before the race about what they should go on for the final stint, but it's not quite working out yet. We have to wait and see, because I think the main point of going onto the hard was the last few laps of the race. where they might have the advantage over a dying medium tyre. But we'll have to wait and find out for that one, as we only have about 6 laps to go. Barbiakov, though, on the back here of Antoni. He's close, but I don't think quite close enough to get the move down into turn 1. But I think it will be close on the run towards turn 1 on this time around, as it is with Roger and Leonov. Close, but not quite close enough.
Yeah, Antoni, he knows Barbiakov pretty well, so he knows exactly what he's going to try and do. And this is the big battle for 5th then, between Roger and Leonov. So just a reminder then, Roger hit for those hards 9 laps ago, I believe. Leonov hit for those mediums 7 laps ago. So it's pretty similar, but with the softer tyres, Leonov's got a bit of an advantage. Meanwhile, Kevin Morville is lining up time because he's pit late on for soft tyres. Probably not in an attempt to get into the top 10, but literally just to set fastest lap near the end of the race, even if he's a bit low down, because it's the sort of thing that Kevin Morville likes to do, as we see Cameron Roger just slightly struggling for traction at this pace. So they've used the undercut well with Cameron Roger, but now this is where it might start to bite them in the final few laps, and Roger has really got to get his elbows out to keep Leonov at bay and keep themselves in play in the team's championship battle.
And that'll be exactly what they are going after. Bercy is what the team's title, and 3rd and 5th at the moment does pick them up a healthy 37 points, which is, of course, not too bad at all. It would eradicate the gap to Royal Blue, which means you've just got to add up the amount of points Royal Blue are currently getting. But with 1st, 9th and 14th, you're looking at a nice little total of 49 points for them. So that's how much they would lead the championship by, which is just short of what they need to take the title. So, I mean,
it's 6 points short, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, it's all but done, but they just need those couple of positions to get them over the line, which they will be absolutely desperate for. But we've got a replay here of something that we just happened, but I don't think we just saw, and I think this is Ballet again. What's happened? What's befallen the Italian? Oh, no, it's a spin. It's similar to what happened there to Sergio Fletcher, isn't it? Got on that curb, straddled it a bit, and that's what sent him around, and he's in the gravel at the exit of turn 1. But I think he's still going, but it did look like he pulled off a bit there. But we'll have to see. But we are back here in the fight for P5. Leonov on the back of Roger. Which way do you see this one going then, Ed, with Roger and Leonov?
Look at Leonov just sliding the I think Roger has just got to hope that Leonov chews through the mediums here, and it could well happen. Interestingly, Oldermenger is actually really started to fight back. He was a tenth quicker than Ivanov last time around. He's still within 4 tenths. I actually think Oldermenger may be mounting an attack for second quite soon, but the problem is he's left it a bit too late, because losing that second position cost him the chance to fight Sevet, I think, for the win here. But Ivanov is... It's really tough to call, and I think Zalagianis is out of it, though. I think it's really those top 3, and I think Oldermenger may be able to snatch second here, but I think Sevet is doing everything he can to win. Meanwhile, these two battle on, and Leonov is looking closer than he has for a while as Cameron Roger just about gets on the power, but even more struggling and squirreling at the rear from Leonov's Nerex.
Yeah, it doesn't look comfortable, does it, for some of these guys? Oh, no, hello. Zalagianis, I just saw a DNF next to his name. I think we've got a replay. Is that what we're about to see? This is George Zalagianis down into turn 1. He's going to come through the opening corner. What has happened? Is that a disconnect?
Yeah, I believe so. That's the second time that's happened this season. It happened to him while he was leading at Barcelona as well. And that's absolutely gutting for Zalagianis, who is having a really solid race, still had a chance of a podium. But now that is great news for Burst Esports, because it promotes Cameron Roger to 4th. And promotes everyone behind him as well. So it puts Barbiakov into 8th and Frelich into 13th. But wow, that's going to really hurt for ground effect, because Giannis had actually performed reasonably well today, and I think he deserved at least that 4th place. Is laying up again. The rear tire just complaining through the hairpin now.
Yeah, and I think the provisional gap between the two teams is now 49. So I think it's actually the same. I
believe it is. You did say 49 earlier, but Oldermenger is not done yet. Look at his pace at the moment. Oldermenger 32.7, Ivanov 32.6. So it's nip and tuck between the pair. And Oldermenger could get in DRS again here, because they are just outside of DRS of Sevet. So Ivanov looking a little vulnerable.
Yeah, they're just outside of DRS, but you can see him very much in front of these two going into turn 1. That is not a small car far away. That is a car very much close up to these guys, and there's only 3 laps to go. So, from Oldermenger, he's maybe on the right tyre. Has he gone on the right tyre? I think these 3 laps will be very much indicative of that. Cam Roger has still defended well from Leonov, but he hasn't quite been able to pull away. but the lap times haven't been bad either so far. But Tom Oldermanger fastest of the top 3 on that last lap. So is he going to be able to mount a challenge towards the end? Van der Neet in the inside of turn 1 again. Contact with Van der Neet. I don't know if he's just going for gaps that don't exist, or whether he's just getting the gap closed off for him. But it's not the first time we've said he's had some contact.
No, but here we go. So Barbakov is getting the toe on Van der Neet, goes up the inside. I think Van der Neet tries to respond by immediately ducking to the inside. That was a gap that I'm afraid was always going to close. So a little bit over-ambitious from Danny there. But there we go. Grateful Alex Lahou goes through then on his one-stop strategy to get another Iris into the top 8.
Absolutely, and with Barbakov getting through, it gives a few more points, doesn't it, to the Royal Blue team. I think, they're just getting a few. They're edging themselves towards that title, aren't they?
I think they're about 4 points away now, aren't they?
Yeah, yes, I think that is true. 44 plus what they get for Frolic, which is 8, gives them 52 for today, and 39 gives them an average of an extra 13 on Burst eSports, which does give them 50 points. So it's close. It's very close, but they're not quite getting it just yet. But here's Lahou on the back of Barbakov. There's maybe a little bit of contact there between them, but it was very close. But Lahou, he seems to have come to life a bit, but, his rear end has come to life, but not on the way he would have wanted.
No, absolutely, as a certain rFactor likes to say. But yeah, Alex Lahou did get gifted that position, but of course, because how long has he been on those tyres for? Let's have a look. The mediums, he's done 15 laps on those mediums. That's quite a way to travel. And look at Oldermanger. He hasn't got Zalagianis to worry about anymore, unfortunately, from a neutral's point of view. But from a neutral's point of view, he could well challenge Ivanov onto the final lap here. So Ivanov needs to be inch perfect to hold on to that second. But for Patrick Sevet, it's going to be a beautiful day for Royal Blue. They won an academy with Peter Knapp. Patrick Sevet's going to be able to hold on to their first win in pro since, I believe, last year with, was it Cosmo Prosciutto at Indianapolis was their most recent win, of course. We know Cosmo Prosciutto won the pro title, was the previous champion before Ivanov, of course. Yeah, this is going to go down to the wire for second, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and Oldermanger is so close to the back of Ivanov. He's got the pace on these last couple of laps, but he's just tucked up behind, isn't he? He will have the DRS down towards the first corner, but of course the DRS zone is quite late down the straight. But here he goes. DRS is enabled. Has he got enough? No, not quite. Down to turn 1. It never really looked possible for him to get through on this final lap, but there are overtaking opportunities to come. The hairpin and the Castillo triangle are probably 2 of the best. Will he be able to find the line through, as Roger as well? He's still defending from Leonov, but I think he is just about far enough ahead to keep P4 himself. So can Burst eSports get a 2-4, or will they have to settle for the 3-4?
Well, Alex Lahou's got past Barbakov, so that's crucial. Giving Royal Blue a couple of less points then. So it is again that they're 6 points away from a championship winning position. Here's a replay then of what happened. Alex Lahou through 130R, gets the run on Barbakov. Is he going to just launch up the inside? Yes, he does. And does he get it stopped in time? Yes, just about. Brilliant move from Alex Lahou on decaying 16-lap-old medium tyres to get one over on Stoyan Barbakov, who's not the easiest to overtake, by the way. And in fact, Barbakov has just gotten back through since that
yes,
replay.
He has. So those who swapping positions.
Oh, look at Ivanov.
Like the sun. But yes, here we go, Oldermanger. He's got a run. He has got the slipstream. Has he got enough for P2 here? Ivanov is the champion. Oldermanger hasn't got a win in this season. He's got the inside line in 130R. It's so difficult through there. Oh no! And Ivanov spins, and he takes Oldermanger with him, but Oldermanger has the inside line magically, with no front wing. He's gone straight on through the final chicane. As they come through, Patrick Sevet will take the win here, but with no front wing, Oldermanger does take P2. Ivanov P3 in the most dramatic of finishes. Ivanov overtakes Oldermanger. That must have been a penalty for corner cutting there. Oh, was Cam Roger also goes incredibly deep. Drama on the final lap here. Leonov is just in behind, but he's not quite close enough to Cam Roger as they come through. But what an end to the race. Oldermanger had a big penalty there. He's come off to P5. I'm not too sure what will happen there, but provisionally Roger on the podium. Could that penalty hand Royal Blue the championship?
That's an in-game penalty, I think, because he cut the track. And of course, the thing is, Oldermanger, he didn't have a front wing, so it'll be interesting to see if they can apply anything or not. But this potentially hands Royal Blue the championship in the team's table. But Barbakov, of course, didn't quite have enough to get through there.
the maths is in order from us to work out if this provisional result
Well, either
gives them
way,
the title.
you've got to hand it to Patrick Sevet there, because he'd been threatening to do that all season with the amount of free second places he got, and he was absolutely flawless from pole today. Did not let the opportunity slip through his fingers. He kept everyone at bay, had a healthy gap behind to Ivanov, and even when they tripped over each other, he was long clear by that point.
Absolutely, and I have to say, I've just done the maths, and even with the penalty and Oldermenger finishing in 6th, the gap between Royal Blue and Burst Esport is 52 points, so it's still not quite enough. Yeah, so they don't need very much at the race, but at the next race into Interlagos, but ooh, they are close. But what an ending to the race that was, as Viktor Ivanov spinning through 130R, just collecting Tom Oldermenger. And unbelievable end to the race.
Yeah, almost as unbelievable as Academy, where everyone got disconnected on the final lap, but certainly a little bit less embarrassing here in terms of just one collision between our two big championship contenders. There's certainly going to be recriminations after that one, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But let's have a look at the results. Patrick Sevet is the winner, his first win of the season, with Oldermenger. Oh, Oldermenger is stated here as P2. Ivanov P3 with Cam Roger P4. In a fantastic result from Cam Roger, got to be driver of the day, coming from P17 all the way up to P4 in the end, maybe P3 depending on what happens with that penalty. Even Leonov, P5 with Thomas Schmidt in 6th, Stoyan Barbikov 7th, Lahu in 8th, Danny van der Neet, who was a bit of an incident magnet today down in P9, and Matt Tucson quietly providing his equal best result of the season in P10 as well. But what a race that was. I mean, drivers outside the top 10 as well, did very well to keep it on the track sometimes. But, I mean, the likes of Patrick Sevet, Tom Oldermenger, Viktor Ivanov and Cam Roger really were the pick of the bunch this evening, but Burst Esport keeping the title alive.
Yeah, in the words of rFactor again, absolutely. So, but yeah, and we see there's 11th through to 18th, which of course Lianos, Morville, Frelick, Ballet, your final finisher 2 laps down, and then the very unfortunate Zalagianis, Sergio Fletcher, Mancini, and Bukout, of course. So Iris, I think, officially out of Teams Championship contention. But Patrick Sevet, not only does he hold on to second and extends his advantage over Oldermenger, actually, but he just about puts the team within touching distance of that team's title. But I guess now our focus is going to move on to World Championship, isn't it? In about half an hour's time, because that is going to come down to Dennis Jordan versus Jene Simoncic. Simoncic goes in with quite an 18-point advantage, so if he gains 12 points, it's over then. That would be the difference between 1st and 4th, of course, in World Championship, and of course, depending on what Jake Dennehan, who's sort of the 3rd man in realistic contention. But yeah, I think Simoncic has every chance of sewing up title number 4 today, which would be very exciting, of course.
Yeah, and make sure you tune in for that one, of course, like you said, Ed. Not too long to wait for that one either. And it's not too long to wait before the final round of the season. 2 weeks to go before we get to Interlagos in Sao Paulo for the final round of the season. Of course, as had already been decided, Viktor Ivanov is the title winner, but Royal Blue haven't quite won the teams, but they're pretty much there. But you're going to have to tune in 2 weeks' time to find out if they do. We've got to thank Antoni Nicpon for the screen today. Great work. Lots of replays to do, and I think we covered it all very well. So thanks to Antoni, and thanks to Ed as well for joining me alongside for this pro race. And yeah, are you looking forward to this last race at Interlagos? Because I think this is going to be an absolute cracker to end the season.
Well, Interlagos is always a fantastic venue, Dara, so I'm absolutely looking forward to it, because it's going to be a great end to all of our championships in FSR. But I think realistically, it's only a matter of Royal Blue scoring just those few more points they need, and making sure that all 4 cars don't retire. I think that's really going to be the key. But excellent to see Patrick Sevet finally break his duck. I think he'd had to wait a long time for that one, and he competed last season for Royal Blue as well. And I think Tom Oldermenger, he'll be desperate to end the season with a win as well. So I think he'll be pushing really hard at Sao Paulo.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thanks to everyone who has watched this evening. Of course, you've got a little bit of time to get a cup of tea, put your feet up before World starts in about half an hour's time. But from myself, rFactor, and my co-commentator, Ed Hunter, we wish you have a wonderful couple of weeks before we return for the Pro Championship, and we will see you in Sao Paulo when the FSR Pro Championship returns for its final round.